Hi, everybody. This is the final video of the week, all about my film Signs of Aging that we are going to make with your help. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching and sharing and commenting. I've been so inspired by all the messages I'm getting from all of you, and it makes me even more determined to make this film. So thank you very much for your help. And if you are just watching this for the first time, check out the link below for information about my film Signs of Aging, which we are hoping to make with your help, which we will make with your help. So in case you're tired of seeing my face all week, I wanted to bring in another member of the team today to talk about some of the things that have been happening this week. So I wanted to introduce you all to Penny Middleton. Penny is an actor, very talented actor. We've worked together on a lot of projects, and she also writes and produces her own material. Penny is one of those people you always want on set with you because you can look at her and say, was that right? Is this going right? Does this make sense? And she'll say yes or no, and she'll be honest, and it'll be fast, and it'll be right. So she is such a good person to have on set, and I wanted her there. So she agreed to be the assistant director on this film. So thank you, Penny.
You're welcome.
So I just wanted to introduce Penny as part of the Signs of Aging team. But also, I thought I'd bring Penny in because I thought it'd be great to have a little conversation. Now, Penny, by the way, is on Skype. I am there on Skype for everybody in the corner. We're doing this a bit low tech. This is one of the challenges of being a filmmaker, an independent filmmaker, an artist, is that you constantly have to upgrade your technology and you don't always have the funds to always upgrade. So I'm doing this a bit low tech and literally recording a Skype video call with my iPhone. Thanks again, Penny, for taking part. I wanted to bounce off some of the ideas and comments that I've been getting this week from people. The kind of conversations I'd love to have in the lobbies of film festivals all over the world after we've screened this film. So this is just a little taster here. And I wanted to start out with Penny. Penny is about 10 years younger than me. And so I wanted to ask you, Penny, when I came to you with this idea for the film, I was wondering, what you thought. I'm coming at it from, a perspective of a white woman in her 40s. And again, I'm just speaking for myself, my own experience. I can't speak for every white woman in her 40s. But as a woman of color in your 30s, I guess I'm wondering, how do you experience this pressure about aging? Do you? And again, I know that you are only speaking from your own experience. You can't speak for every woman of color in her 30s. But just from your experience, how do you feel? I mean, how are some of the things that you experience and I experience similar, or how are they different?
So I think for me, when you're a woman of color, there's that adage that I'm sure you've heard. It's this thing that black don't crack.
It's a good play on words, but
yeah. So and basically, like, I won't go into the whole scientific thing, but women of color, there is some truth to that because of the amount of melanin in our skin and collagen. We age differently, but I think that's the key. We age differently, but we still age.
right.
So I think that for me, I've always looked much younger than my actual age, and it's never really affected me until now, because now that I am in my 30s and I'm fully in my womanhood, as an actor, we have these age ranges. So you play, it's usually 5 to 10 years of the age range you can play. And I tend to get cast much younger than my age, and that's sort of causing a little bit of emotional issues with me, because I'm like, but I am my age, and I'm meant to feel like it's such a luxury that I look younger than I am, but also I've lived some life, and I'm happy that I'm here at the age that I am. So I think for Black women, this idea, or women of color, I guess, and again, like you said, not speaking for all women of color, that's crazy. But there is this pressure that sort of like we are this eternal fountain of youth. But that's problematic because what if you are a woman of color who does, age in a certain way? So I think it's just unfortunate that there's this misnomer that like we aren't allowed to age, simply because of that whole, black don't crack. And it's not true. I mean, we do age, we just age differently.
Yeah. I wanted to get into some of the comments that I've been getting from people about these videos, some of them privately, so I won't use people's names, but one friend reached out to me and said, I think perhaps our obsession with anti-aging is because we're, as humans, worried about death, afraid of death, and, aging reminds us of this. It's interesting because, it's certainly something that none of us can escape. I mean, whatever your spiritual beliefs, which I think is hopefully can help people. I mean, there is certainly no escape from the fact that this human body will one day die, and it's scary. I think for most humans, right? So maybe that's why we are so obsessed with looking younger, is the fear of death. What do you think about that?
So this is, I'm so glad you brought this up because it's always been hard for me to think about, in the West, we think of time as very linear, without getting into my own personal beliefs, like I don't necessarily think of time as linear, but I can imagine that if you're structured in a way in which your life has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then you're basically, I guess the best way to describe it is if it's like dominoes. Right? So if, with each wrinkle, another domino falls to the ground, that's very stressful. Like thinking in terms like that, like, oh my God. So, something I think, and this is something I think that would need a lot of time to implement, but I wish that the emphasis, in particular towards women, because we are the ones who are marketed towards the most, that we put as much emphasis on teaching women how to contour as we did on teaching women the necessary thing of aging, and that it's wrinkles and laugh lines are marks of a life lived, and there is just this great fear in especially in Western culture that we have to hit all these benchmarks and everything is sort of lined up in a row, but it takes away from the actual event of living. I have very personally, I have these marks on my arm, these stretch marks, and I have them because there was a period where I lived with my grandmother and she raised me and she fattened me up. I lost, and then I lost the weight. And now I have these stretch marks, and I don't look at these as like, oh my God, these are these horrible things. I look at these as love, because she loved me and she fed me, and these are a constant reminder that she took care of me. And I mean, it's so ingrained in everything in our culture. The size we are, the weight, the amount of wrinkles you have, that it's a bigger problem. But I just wish that we understood that all of those things are just representations of your life, that you've lived and you've experienced things, and that's okay. Otherwise, what's the point?
So true. Well, I mean, it is interesting. I see some of these products say, well, this will, fight and, fight or get rid of the expression lines. And I thought, how have you had to live your life with, to not have expression? Why is that bad? Should I live my life without expression the whole time, never smiling, never raising my eyebrows? So you've never, so it's interesting. And that, it brings me to the last point I wanted to talk about, the last conversation I wanted to touch on. And again, this is just touching on things. These are things we could talk about for hours, but I just wonder, if this is the case, that maybe we are worried about death, or we don't want to think about death. Why is it that women have this pressure much more than men, right? I mean, you would think it would go across all human beings. So why are women marketed to this way and have this pressure of looking younger? And this is what I've come up with. And I mean, this is kind of dark, and I don't know. I guess I wanted to see what you think. You know, I think that maybe due to thousands of years of subjugation, and again, this is the history of women of different ethnicities. The history of subjugation of women of different ethnicities is very different, and obviously some of that still continues today. But whatever the case, almost all women through history, in some form, have been oppressed at various times, and varying degrees. And I think there might be a subconscious thing in our Western society that lingers from this, because for so many centuries, women really weren't considered viable citizens, with working or voting. And of course that, took a longer time too for women of color than it did for white women. And so to change that. So because of this, because women for so long were not considered sort of viable parts of society except for their reproducing and their childbearing, that I wonder if there isn't something that lingers subconsciously in Western society that says, women are only sort of viable members of society when they're in their childbearing years. And so women subconsciously want to stay in those years as long as possible, or looking as if they're in those years as long as possible, which is why we have this pressure to stay young looking. I don't know if that's too dark or deep.
Oh, no, it's not at all. I mean, it's everything you're saying. There are studies and things that prove that. I mean, it's the way in which we, like, everything about our society and the way, especially marriage. Marriage is a direct result of what you were saying. Marriage was not initially this thing that was like two people love each other and fall in love and have this, contract. It was because women were never given full autonomy over their persons and were not able to provide financially or otherwise, so they were reliant on men. And I think ultimately what you're saying definitely is part of it, this idea that just for centuries women have never had the ability to sort of take care of themselves financially, and it just sort of became like a part of how we live in the world. Mm-hmm. And even what's crazy is even now in our postmodern world, I look at someone like a female candidate running for office, and there's always social commentary on what she's wearing. Look, I want to say this, that like I think the purpose of our film and us having this conversation is in no way to sort of like ambush the beauty industry or makeup. Like, those things are fun and lovely. The difference is it should not be a necessity. We sort of live in this weird world where we are subconsciously fed all of these things and we're not even aware of it. Like, if you ever watch a shaving commercial where a woman is shaving, when a woman shaves, they're shaving legs with no hair. That's crazy. But and it's just like, yeah, because even in this world in which, a product is being sold to remove hair, the woman cannot actually have hair. Mm-hmm. So there's just all of these subliminal things that prevent women from having the same luxury that men have. And again, I'm just going to keep saying this. It's like, if you aren't aging, and if you aren't experiencing the signs of aging, then it probably means that you're not here to do that. And I think that for people who have lost people who were really young in their lives, I'm sure, there's not a moment that goes by that says, like, look, I would have loved to see that person with wrinkles or gray hairs. It would have been the greatest joy in my life. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I hope we all sort of step back and recognize that like aging and the beauty industry and all of those things, we really need to have a conversation, because it's detrimental. It's detrimental to our well-being, and that should really be the focus. I think our mental well-being and how we feel about ourselves internally should be more of a focus than externally.
So that was Penny Middleton and I, recorded earlier today. Thank you for putting up with my low-tech Skype recording there. Thank you for a really great week. Thank you for watching these videos and for commenting and sending me messages and sharing, and for donating to make this film. If this has been resonating with you and you still want to make a donation, and you can, please do so at this link below. The project is fiscally sponsored by an arts organization called Fractured Atlas, so that means all donations through Fractured Atlas are deductible to the extent permitted by law, and we would really love your support, and it would be such a huge help to get this film made. Thank you. One last thing I wanted to say before I go for the week is you might have noticed that I did each of these videos without makeup myself. I think when I was in New York yesterday, I did have some, a bit of lip tint and some powder on from earlier in the day, but most of all, I tried to do the videos without any makeup because I thought if I'm talking about wrinkles and age spots and, you know, signs of aging, I should be showing my own, right? And not ashamed. And I will say it was a little bit scary at first. You know, as an actor, you're supposed to present this image to the world, and even just not as an actor, you know, all women have this, a lot of women have this image they try to put out there. So it was a bit scary, but then I kind of got used to it. And then it was quite nice because I didn't have to do anything to prepare. But you know, I was watching these back when I was editing them and thinking, oh God, oh, look at me. And I thought this is the whole reason why I need to make this film. Because if I'm, you know, putting myself on tape to talk about how important it is to make a film that doesn't shame women for aging, why am I shaming myself for showing signs of aging? It's deep. It's deep. And I am just happy to be a small part of the conversation. So, thank you. I will continue to update you as we go deeper into pre-production and production. I'm hoping to shoot this summer. Again, with your help, I can do it faster and sooner. And I won't be able probably to do a video every week, but every few weeks I will do one. So keep watching the space and I'll keep you informed of what we're up to for the Signs of Aging short film. Thank you for this week. I feel really, really inspired and motivated by all of you. So, thank you.